Annyeong Haseo. Good afternoon. Welcome to VidCon Now Asia. I think this is part 7, and we are coming live from Korea. Well, actually, I'm in Singapore. My name's Jasper Donat, and I'm going to be helping walk us through Korean market today. We're continuing to look at the creators and companies who are making it around Asia Pacific. We've already visited China, India, Vietnam, Japan. Now we're heading to Korea, which is unquestionably Asia's creative super hub, especially for anything that is music or drama right now. A lot of people actually think that K-pop and K-drama are new. However, much of this started strategically back in the mid-90s with what was then and now known as the Korean wave. I was actually involved in a music channel in the launch of a music channel back then, and at the time J-pop was dominant in Asia. But now in 2021, K-pop is a global phenomenon. It's the first Asian language to cross over into international markets at scale. And K-drama is in some cases bigger than Western content in many Asian markets. So it's pretty exciting time for Korea, for South Korea. But what we want to do is look at what's going on in Korea, not what's coming out of Korea. We have 3 amazing speakers to take us around the country. We'll meet them all one by one before coming together at the end to take questions. So if you are watching and you want to ask any of our speakers any questions, please do start asking them now, and we'll try and ask them through the session and at the end. So get your questions in. We're going to meet Eugene Choi, the CEO of Collab, followed by an entertainer and creator, Diva Jessica, and then a K-drama producer and star, Sean Dulake. But first, we're going to take a deep dive into the South Korean market, open the door to business ideas and opportunities for anyone who's interested in this amazing, amazing country. We're always keen to hear your feedback. We always want to hear your questions. And who else would you like us to interview, and what would you like us to talk about? So please feed back to me at Jasper Donat on every platform on the planet. But first, welcome to VidCon Now Asia, Eugene Choi, CEO of Collab Asia. Eugene, tell us and tell the VidCon Now world a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Eugene Choi, and Collab Asia, we are a digital media company and YouTube certified multi-channel network, oftentimes known as an MCN. So what we do is we work very closely with YouTube, and we also work with over 1,800 creators and content companies. That's includes anyone from a gamer or a vlogger, or even a K-pop artist or an animation company. We do work with a lot of, different content creators, professional, UGC, and otherwise. We have offices in 8 different countries now. We actually originally spun off from a LA-based company called Collab in 2017. Back then, our first 2 markets that we were active in were actually Korea and in Japan. And since then, since 2017, after we spun off, we have since expanded to Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore, Greater China, and Malaysia as well. And I'm really excited to be here.
Now, so Collab Asia's headquarters is in Seoul, right, in Korea, where you are today. Let's talk about what's going on in Korea. What does the media landscape look like? Is it international services like Netflix and Disney Plus and what have you, or is it more local platforms? What's going on in Korea?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think from people outside of Korea, they know about K-pop, they know about the music, they know about the films and the dramas on Netflix and whatnot. But yeah, there is a very active and exciting media ecosystem, and it's a mix of international platforms and local platforms. So you do have the Google and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and of course Netflix. You have those global platforms which are bringing outside content in and also increasingly Korean content out to the rest of the world. But what's interesting about Korea is you also do have some very large local platforms. So Naver, for example, it's could be compared to Google. They also operate a lot of different services, such as Naver Video and everything from maps and everything. And then Kakao is the other kind of big one. Kakao, they have the dominant text messaging service, but they also merged with Daum, and then they also have a whole suite of ride sharing and video and increasingly audio related apps. So yeah, Korea is an interesting market in a sense that you do have a mix of local content, but also international content.
And who are the creators that are making it? The online, the video community. Is it who are the big names, and what kind of numbers are they pulling in, and what genres are they in?
Yeah, I mean, the creator ecosystem has been quite active. I think it really started, the tipping point was maybe around 2013. That's when CJ, which is one of the largest conglomerates here in Korea, they launched an MCN as well. And around that time is when I think 2013, 2014, I think that's when people realized that you can make a living online doing, producing videos. And so some of them, I would say the most common and active genres would be number one, beauty. There's still a lot of beauty creators that do how to and makeup tutorials. And I think that's largely, been a result of the fact that there's so many Korean cosmetics companies. I heard, the K beauty products are doing quite well all over the world as well. So that created this kind of ecosystem where, you have a lot of products, you have a lot of budgets, and you have a lot of money and advertisements. Gaming has always been really big. I think in Korea, you saw some of the first kind of professional esports gaming leagues and teams, and even cable TV networks from even 15 years ago. Gaming continues to be a really, huge vertical. I think the fact that Korea has some of the fastest internet speeds probably helps. So people were actually live streaming their gameplay since maybe 2006. There was a local platform called Africa TV, which stands for a free broadcasting TV, pretty much just like Twitch. But that started in 2006, and so back then people were live streaming their gameplay on StarCraft and eventually then later League of Legends and things of that nature. Um, besides that, obviously music is a big genre. I think you still see a lot of the interesting, a lot of the same common genres you see in other countries. But I think a couple years ago there were some interesting things that came out, such as mukbang, which is people eating live, and I know that's a trend that's starting to take off in other countries as well. Um, People now are doing study with me live stream and things of that nature. I think lately I heard comedy is really starting to really take off in Korea. I'm sure people just want to laugh during the all that's going on with the pandemic and whatnot. And then also the education space, online education and that's been quite common in Korea. Just there's a strong kind of educational culture here. So there's been a lot of online schools for a while, and that's really accelerated in the last year, 2 years.
Tell us about webtoons. For people who, I mean, maybe start at the beginning. The webtoons are pretty big platform phenomenon in Korea. But for those who haven't heard of it or not so sure about it, what's webtoons? Webtoons.
Yeah, so webtoons has actually been a really hot topic. And, when I'm on the subway here in Korea, everyone, of course, is on their phones and they're either watching YouTube or they're scrolling through a webtoon app. And basically what it is, it's just like a comic book. It's still images, but then you just kind of scroll through. It's been really, I mean, it's been big also in Japan, but I think it's really just started taking off even more in a big way, especially because now these webtoons have become a source of IP for some of these Netflix original series. So Itaewon Class, Sweet Home, and some of these other series, they, from my understanding, were inspired by webtoons. And also Naver, one of the big conglomerates, they actually have a division. They're one of the largest webtoon companies. So you have these big conglomerates also investing a lot of money and resources and people into developing this. Not only further developing the IP, but what I think is interesting is also developing kind of this ecosystem of creators. It's a new kind of creator, right? You have not only these artists and illustrators, but you also have writers. So not just webtoons, but Naver webtoons, but there's a handful of other companies that have also been active in this space.
And going on from webtoons, what formats are working? Is it long form, short form? Have is TikTok really that really ultra short form of 29 seconds? Has that taken off in Korea? What are people consuming?
Um, Interestingly enough, I think TikTok, even though it seems to be big in pretty much every other country in Asia and huge in America as well. I don't think it has taken off in the same way as it has in other countries. Maybe just because there were a lot of these other platforms, like I said, Africa TV since 2006. Those that was live streaming. So live streaming still is quite big and popular, and it's always been a constant. And again, like the internet speeds have always been fast, and so with when it comes to short form content, it hasn't really TikTok didn't maybe seem to have has taken off in the same way as it did in other countries. But with that said, Instagram is actually quite big. I think part of that too is Instagram, it's more polished, and Korean people generally want to kind of put their best image, polished image forward. So Instagram is quite popular, and I think usage within Instagram with their short form product Reels, I think is quite common. But besides that, other formats that have I think lately been taken off is podcasting is kind of interesting. I know it's huge in America, but maybe not so much in other Asian countries. But in Korea specifically, podcasting really seemed to take off a couple years ago during the last administration when there was a conservative president in power. So then a lot of these liberal political voices actually gravitated towards podcasting. And so there are some local podcast platforms like Patbang and things of that nature. And so I think it's still early, but it's interesting to see podcasting kind of getting some traction in Korea in a way that it hasn't in other Asian countries. And now that Spotify has now launched in Korea, I imagine that it's only going to continue to explode in popularity.
And how are creators monetizing? Is it kind of traditional advertising? Is it sponsorship? Is it endorsements? What are their revenue streams?
Yeah, I think out of all the digital platforms, YouTube still remains one of the best ones in terms of monetizing video content. But with that said, influencer marketing, kind of these brand sponsorships, sponsoring the social media posts and content, that's always been a huge thing and continues to be so in Korea. Um, I think increasingly, things like live commerce or social commerce, there's a lot of different terms for it. That's also starting to pick up steam in Korea. What's interesting is, TV home shopping channels have always been kind of a big thing. Even now, if you scroll through the cable dial in Korea, you're going to see around, I don't know, 5 TV home shopping channels. And again, you have all these massive conglomerates. They all each have their own home shopping channel. GS, which I believe is an offshoot of at some point of LG, GS, CJ also has home shopping. There's several. So that kind of TV home shopping culture is now starting to migrate over to online. And it's been happening for a couple of years. People were just doing it on maybe their Instagram or on Naver across their own social media channels. But now increasingly there seems to be some platforms that are popping up and dedicated towards this type of live shopping and social commerce.
Is that like is that kind of an e-commerce platform? Is it still kind of more like home shopping, late night TV stuff?
There's so many, and they're all slightly different. So I would say a little bit of both. There's some of our even the other MCNs in Korea. They've started their own e-commerce portals, and basically each creator kind of has their own store and pushes their own goods. Some of it is the common things like T-shirts, hats, mugs, cell phone cases, but others are more specific, I guess, to that creator. So it's still quite early, I would say, and things are changing quite a bit. Actually, what's interesting is even Coupang, which is the Amazon of Korea, and then also Pedal Minjok, which is the main food delivery app. They also recently, in the last 6 to 9 months, launched their own social commerce platforms. It's hard to keep up, to be honest with you.
So final question for you, Eugene, before we meet Diva. If I'm an international creator wanting to connect and wanting to make it in Korea, what advice would you give me?
I think number one, you have to come to Korea first, for sure, and kind of soak up everything that's going on. The one thing to know about Korea is it's so fast paced. Things move at a lightning pace. So trends today are replaced by new trends in 2 to 3 months, and so I think you got to kind of be a part of that to really participate. I think language is also important. Even though like almost every Korean citizen takes English courses in high school throughout whatever growing up, still to be mainstream, I mean, you still need to communicate in Korean. And there are examples of people coming from other countries, like Korean Englishman. He's from the UK. He's one of the biggest YouTubers in Korea. And increasingly, even some of these K-pop stars, when you see these boy bands, they'll have like a Chinese idol singer, Chinese or from Thailand and things of that nature. But to be active in Korea, you definitely need to know the culture and speak the language.
So, Eugene, thank you for this coalface analysis on what's going on in Korea right now. We're going to come back to you in a bit, but before that, we want to say hello to Diva Jessica. Now, Diva is an entertainer and a creator. Hey, Diva, how are you? Jessica, how are you?
Hello.
Now, I know that we're getting a lot of emojis in the chat. So if we can get some questions as well as emojis in the chat, that'd be fantastic as well. So Jessica, it's lovely to meet you. Welcome to VidCon Now. Now you've been to VidCon before, haven't you? In Melbourne, am I right?
Yes, I had a chance to introduce myself and giving them a story about how I built my channel in Melbourne. That was 3 to 4 years ago. It was very pleasure.
Well, welcome to VidCon Now Asia, the online edition. Tell us a little bit about yourself for people who don't know who Diva Jessica is. Tell us about you and your channels, your company. Let's hear a little bit more about you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Diva Jessica from Korea. I've been a streamer and YouTuber since 2013, so it's almost 8 years experience. At first, I've started with the English education videos, but now my channel is more known for mystery, horror, or crime stories. So I'm a basically storytelling YouTuber. Also, I have another job based on my YouTube experience. I'm running a production and management company called JBS. Of course, is to support myself and also manage a couple of creators that I'm working with and helping them and their channels to grow. Well, I'm kind of first generation YouTuber in Korea. So, and I also recruited new creators since nobody even care about what YouTube is. I mean, so it's been a long experience. So with that, now I'm teaching in a university as a professor. My class called How to Be a Social Influencer. And this class is basically giving lectures about basic skills to build your channel or analysis about media trend and how to engage with your fan as a creators. My
You should
first.
you should be asking the questions, not me.
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. My first platform that I started working with was Africa TV that you already heard from Eugene. This is a very unique domestic live streaming platform where anyone can open your channel by playing games. And gaming is big in Korea. Or you can just talking to people or doing mukbang. How it works is that you entertain your fans, and if they likes you, become fans, and they throw some cash. Oh, yeah, let me call it as a showing loves from your fans. It's like a early version of YouTube Super Chimps, kind of like a same system. So I've been doing Africa TV, but 1 year later, it was like 2014. One of the top Korean game YouTubers, he mentioned about how much he makes on YouTube, and that was sensation. So I instantly made my YouTube channel and uploaded videos about, my previous videos about teaching English in an easy and fun way. Let me give you a little bit about my video. So one of the popular ones was that I brought a different kinds of American snacks and try to teach some expressions of what it tastes like in English. So like the word cheesy, crunchy, those are the words that I taught. It was like a collaboration with mukbang and English education. That video went viral, and that's the time my channel started to grow fast. Yeah.
So is your main your main fan base is in Korea?
In 98% of my fans are in Korea, but the thing is, I'm not doing teaching English anymore because as I'm running my channel, I realized that the educational thing is not what everybody wants to see. So for the last 8 years, my contents have been developed into many different series. Like I used to live in America, so I try to introduce how American culture is different from us. Or I also try some ranking show, giving information about worldwide shocking news. I also tried, many different like storytelling contents. And at the end, my all-time killing series came out called Saturday Mystery. That's the most enjoyed content in my channel. So so far, I've uploaded total 2,800 videos. Most of them are talking about horror stories, conspiracies, unsolved and solved crime stories. So average, I uploaded 5 to 6 videos a week. It's a lot of work.
Wow, that's amazing. And do you ever collaborate with other artists or other creators?
Uh, my channels is all about, stories, shocking stories, crime stories. So I didn't have much chance to collaborate with them. But these days, since YouTube become very influential in the media market, I've got a lot of requests from like K-pop artist companies. Once their new artists, release their new album or songs, they want to join our live show and trying to, introduce themselves. That's kind of like fun collaboration that I'm doing right now.
So what excites you the most about Korea? Culturally, business-wise, what's really cool right now?
Korea, well, Koreans are really good at making attractive stories and representing it as a drama or movie or, any kind of visual formats in YouTube or many platform. So, of course, being in this country, I was heavily influenced by that. So, what excites me is that I believe Korea is the center of the content production, not only in Asia, also worldwide in the future. So I think I've been training myself as a small-sized storyteller in YouTube, but well, I wish later on I'm looking forward to growing myself as a like real deal production filmmaker. So hoping I can produce like serious documentaries or horror movies professionally.
And I guess one of my final question for you is what advice would you give to any young people? I mean, you're giving this advice all the time in university, of course, but what advice would you give people wanting to start out in a creator career?
Korea is a lot of Koreans like they are so crazy about making their channels, hoping making extra monies. So a lot of people came to me and asked about, hey, how to be a successful YouTuber like you. But my advice is, you gotta be genuine. I mean, don't try to be a YouTubers or influencers who only care about money, because I never forget that I'm here with this career and fame and money. It all came from your fans and their supports. So you're not there. I'm not here by my own power. So if I see any, like beginner in YouTube, I like to say care about your fans and your contents. And if you're trying to survive if you're trying to survive in this industry for a long time, then you gotta be trustworthy person.
So your fans come first.
Of course, fans comes first, and then quality contents.
Fantastic. Well, Jessica, same as Eugene, we're going to ask you to go sit on a digital couch for a few minutes, and then we'll bring you back and we'll have a panel session at the end. Thank you so much for all of these wonderful insights about succeeding in the Korean market. Again, any questions anyone has for Jessica or any of the speakers we have today, please get them into the little chat box. But Jessica, we're going to see you very, very soon. But thank you so much. And up next, we have a producer, an actor, a bit of a heartthrob for a lot of the people in Branded. Sean Dulake, a film, television actor, producer based between Seoul and Los Angeles, and co-founder of Third Culture Content. He has starred in numerous Korean and English language films and series, including, now if I pronounce this wrong, please forgive me, Jae Jung-won, Athena Goddess of War, Korea Next, K-Town Cowboys, Operation Chromite, Fake, Finding Hollywood, which was a documentary about his journey in the Korean entertainment business, and is currently the producer and acting and performing in a big hit drama world, which is now into its second series, and you can watch it in Asia on iQIYI. So, as the CEO of Third Culture, Sean is in active development on a slate of cross-cultural projects, which is why we are extremely excited and honored and privileged to have you with us today. It's a very long bio there, Sean, but I think it has to be read because you really are the guy. So let's jump straight in. We know that K-pop is hot, but why do viewers outside of Korea love K-drama so much?
Well, first, I just wanted to say thanks to Jasper and VidCon for having me. This is like my first time, I think, doing something like this. So I almost forgot I was a part of this. I was just learning like everyone else, and then I realized I have to talk right now. So thank you to Eugene Choi, who has been a friend for a while and who invited me to join this. I've known Eugene for a while, but I've never seen this side of him. So it's really, really impressive as a side note. To answer your question, Jasper, I think that the thing that Korean content, specifically Korean drama, why it connects with foreign audiences is the answer keeps changing, but I think it's just the quality of the storytelling, the quality of the production, and also just where Korea is at as a nation, and the entertainment industry has been supported by the government in many different ways, by major conglomerates, and it's been something that is really finding its time right now, but that's been in the works and developing for a very, very long time. I think there's something about Korean drama, when I do interviews and everything, and people ask me this, there's something about, I like to label it like wholesome sexy. It's not, there's a lot of things about Korean drama it used to be primarily romance and about the love story. And then the last few years, it's really branched out to many different genres, but there's this emotional component that's not always too cruel, I guess, for lack of better words, and not so much occupation focused, but it really, I feel like Korean dramas cut down to the very core, raw human condition in whatever world or situation that you dive into, whether it be a military series or a medical series or even a family series or whatever. At the end of the day, like I think viewers of Korean drama are always really expecting to get to that very raw human emotion, and I feel like that's a big component. Plus, going back to wholesome sexy, just it's also with K-pop and everything. There's a bit of I think nostalgia that comes with it for a lot of people in other countries, that still very, very family focused. Not necessarily family friendly, but there's a value system that I think is really resonating with a lot of audiences overseas, and you don't see characters necessarily, like sleeping with each other in the first episode. There's a bit more tension, I guess you could say, that keeps people engaged, and also just the writing in general. I mean, the cliffhangers. There's this recent trend in Korea of dramas that are just, how can you just top the next surprise, the next hook, the next cliffhanger ending, and it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. There's been a few string of dramas that have really played into that trend, and so yeah, that's what I'd say overall are the main things.
I love this the name Wholesome Sexy. Has anyone written a song about that yet? It's got to be a song title, or at least an album.
I'm definitely not. You can take it and make a song, Jasper. Go ahead. I'm not protecting that.
We mentioned Drama World. I want to talk a little bit about that in a sec, but we have a video that we're going to show, and then we'll come back and talk about a little bit more about Drama World. Now that
For people
is pretty cool.
For people who have no idea what Drama World is, that's probably a very confusing video. Happy to explain what it is.
Yeah. Please. What is Drama World? And it's an amazing, it's a lovely story. But I don't know if that promo was wholesome, sexy, but it was an amazing
Yeah,
promo.
exactly.
Please,
So that
what's Drama
promo,
World and what's the inspiration?
yeah, that promo first of all was a teaser that hasn't been released yet. We're ramping up to do our global release in US and non-Asian territories pretty soon, and so that's just a preview to a teaser that we're planning to release soon. Drama World is a story about an American girl who is obsessed with Korean drama, who gets magically transported into her favorite Korean drama through her smartphone. And in our first season, um, it follows her as she is tasked to save the drama that she gets thrown into. But there's a lot of rules in Drama World. You cannot become part of the story. You definitely cannot fall in love with the main character. The job of the facilitator, which is the role that she assumes, is to make the leading man and the leading lady fall in love. And if that does not happen and true love's kiss is not achieved, then the entire world ceases to exist. So that's the general premise of the show. It's a fantasy romantic comedy series that's lighthearted. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but we really play up the tropes and the a lot of the things that are seen a lot in Korean drama, and we incorporate them as rules to the world. And it's a bilingual series. 60% in English, 40% in Korean, and the series it was just an amazing experience because we were able to bring talent from Hollywood and Korea together, and create the space where all these actors and different characters could play together. And so we just finished our second season. It's currently airing in Asia, like Jasper said, on iQIYI throughout Asia, and we'll be launching in Japan on Unext later this year, and we're playing in Korea on CJ's OTT called TVing, and we're airing on Lifetime channel. We sold the Asia rights to A&E Network, so they did the distribution in Asia, and it's been really wonderful. The version that we're airing, by the way, in Asia is an integrated version of season 1 and 2 together. So that's the version that you'll be seeing if you view the series in Asia.
That's great stuff, and you've got some pretty big names in there. I mean, aside from yourself as well, Daniel Day Kim and K-pop star called Henry Lau. How was it? What's it like working with Daniel?
Daniel is just he's become quite like a mentor to me. Actually, there's not a lot of actor producers that I know, and he's doing it in the biggest of ways in Hollywood. And I think that with Drama World, he's always just been very much a proponent of more Asian or Asian American representation in Hollywood and Hollywood films. And Drama World is this unique series that organically blends cultures together. And I think if you watch the series, he plays a very pivotal role. He plays the original facilitator whose decisions actually impacted and caused the events of season 1 and everything that happened, so forth. And so I think he was the right actor for the role. And we had known each other for a couple years, definitely got a lot closer throughout the Drama World process. And it was a real pleasure. I mean, when you're working with professionals who have a lot of experience, it's very easy. They make it very feel like it's not work, and so it was definitely a pleasure. And with Henry, he's been in the industry for a very long time as a big K-pop star, and has also been in Hollywood films and Chinese films, and he's kind of a walking anomaly. He's trilingual. He plays I don't know how many instruments. He's musically very, very gifted, composes, sings, dances, does everything. And so he was very interesting to engage as an actor because very much carried the same outlook, I want to call it the third culture or the cross-cultural outlook. And these are the types of creators in general, not just actors, but people that we're always trying to find to collaborate on and to do more projects together. So it was a pleasure working with them both.
I mean, we talked about having K-pop stars in K-dramas, and it's not new having musicians, famous musicians or big musicians moving into acting roles. Is this something that is a natural evolution now for K-pop stars to move into K-drama?
Oh, it's been happening for a while. And in fact, when a lot of trainees are preparing to debut, excuse me, to debut in their K-pop groups, they receive acting training. They groom them from the time that they're preparing to debut. So um, that's definitely just comes hand in hand. And then I've been in dramas with some K-pop stars, and they'll also make music for the soundtrack, and then there will be tours, surrounded around the drama itself, and so it's all very, very integrated. There's a lot of K-pop stars that do acting all the time.
So we've had a question from the World Wide Web. This is from someone called Bernie, who I believe is in Korea. For a drama world guy, what are you watching right now?
I'm so busy kind of making my own shows that I don't have as much time to watch television and more movies than films than dramas. But one Korean drama I really enjoyed was World of the Married, 부부의 세계, which was uh, it was just really well done, and it really dug deep into the psyche of a family, being torn apart, and I really enjoyed that drama. I think that, and then not as recent one was I believe it's called. Um, it was the one with the elderly actors. I'm forgetting the title now. It's like We Are Friends, or uh, yeah,
So
yeah. Anyway,
it will come back to you.
it'll
But
come
it's
to
interesting
me.
because you're just so busy. You're so busy writing and producing stuff. So this comes on to the final question. Then we'll bring everyone back. And again, if there's any more questions, and thank you, Bernie, for that question. If there are any more questions from the World Wide Web, please get them in. But what's up next for third culture content?
Like I said, with Drama World being like big first kind of show that's been out there, I think it's branded us as a company, as a group of creators. It's by no means Game of Thrones or anything like that, but I think our mission has always been to create series, and not just in the scripted space, but now in the non-scripted space, that organically blend cultures together. And we're definitely riding the wave of the popularity of Korean content and just Korean culture. A lot of the stuff we're doing is Asian story that's for the world. So there's another series that we sold to Netflix that's very much an Asian story, but we're working with one of their top showrunners right now developing that series. We're focusing a bit more on, with the experience that we've gained through Drama World and the network we've built out. As Eugene was saying, it is quite an insulated space, and spending time here it makes the difference in the end. Relationships and building that trust with creatives, and so we're developing another series with a K-pop star it's in the non-scripted space. We have a number of scripted projects that we're looking to take to market very soon, and I wish I could say more, but I don't know if I can say. I'd love to say who we're working with. Let's just say it's some of the best that we're very privileged to be working with them, and we're also, just because I know we're speaking to content creators and people in the entertainment industry all throughout Asia. we're constantly trying to meet other people who share the same values as us and want to just hop on a call and collaborate and find something to do together. Where I'm getting contacted by many different producers from all over the world, actually, that we're in talks to develop something with some producers in South Africa right now. Just I think with the obviously what's going on in Korea, but also the entrance of all of the major OTT platforms in Asia, and a lot of them mainly wanting to commission a lot of content out of Korea. It's a wonderful situation right now for content creators who are not only trying to make things or tell stories for the local Korean market, but for the world. And so that just quickly, just I'm a biracial person. My father's from London and my mother's from Seoul, and I grew up, as you could tell, from my very thick California accent, in Los Angeles. I've always kind of felt like an outsider as a content creator and as an actor, feeling like my perspective was just on the periphery. But I feel like in the last few years, after Crazy Rich Asians really made history in the States, and now, of course, with Parasite, Minari, BTS, Blackpink, and I've found that maybe this perspective is actually sought after, and so far it's proven to be true. And so we very much approach work with humility, and just we want to just meet like-minded content creators. So if anyone would like to collab, just I could say my email address, right, Jasper?
Yeah,
Or
no, it's only the World Wide Web.
very easy. Sean, my first name, SEAN at thirdculturecontent.com. So just hit me up if you have any ideas. We're very much looking to scale up this year and from here on out. So would love to talk.
That's fantastic. Well, Sean, thank you so much for these wonderful insights on creating great drama and shows in Korea and outside of Korea. Drama World is it is a wonderful drama. Now, don't go away, because we're gonna, with the magic of the internet, we're gonna bring Eugene and Jessica back. Yes, it worked. Thank you both of you for being patient there. But we've had a wonderful chat with three people, all coming from fairly different scenarios here. And we've got some questions from our viewers. The first one, I think, is for Eugene, and it's from Jonathan Shi, who asks, how do you see a trend for some of these Korean home shopping products reaching audience beyond Korea?
I don't know about the how, but I think it's something that probably would be inevitable. You know, we see music, film, TV is starting to reach overseas audiences, and I think products and kind of, you know, these home shopping products and whatnot, I think something like that will probably follow that trend. You know, a lot of us on this panel today kind of talked about what makes Korea so unique that it's having so much success. Korean content, Korean companies are having so much success overseas, and I think number one is kind of the government support. You know, over the years, the idea was if you can brand Korean culture well, then people are going to buy more Samsung phones and drive more Hyundai cars, and I think that's kind of worked out, right? And I think they call it Korea Inc., right? So there has been a lot of investment into kind of the cultural content. So I wouldn't be, and I also know that there's been some government funding into kind of branding and promoting Korean food as well. And I know Korean food is starting to gain popularity overseas as well. So when it comes to maybe the home shopping thing and the home products, I think that's inevitable. I don't know how or when, but I think it's inevitable. One last thing I'll say, besides the government support, I think the other thing that really kind of pushes Korean, not only content, but products and stuff to go overseas is the fact that Korea, if you look on a map, is a very small country. It's a very small market, and it's wedged in between huge, China, Japan, Russia, and stuff like that. So from the beginning, a lot of these Korean companies and content makers and product makers, they have the intention of succeeding overseas. They have to, right? You can't just succeed just only by thinking about the domestic market. So I think that's another reason why you see a lot of this prevalence of Korean content and products worldwide. And yeah, I fully expect that to spread to other areas as well.
It's also, I mean, we didn't really talk about this. It's also one of the nicest places on the planet. I mean, everyone is so polite in Korea. I remember years ago, this has got nothing to do with VidCon Asia, by the way. I remember going skiing years ago because it's the closest ski fields when I was living in Hong Kong. If you fall over, which of course being English I do all the time, Sean, your father would be the same. None of us were born to ski. So when you fall over, literally everyone stops. Literally on the mountain, everyone stops and makes sure you're okay, and then they'll start skiing when you go again. It's just the nicest place and the coolest place. So that's a little diversion, an ad from the South Korean Tourism Board. Visit Seoul, ski in Seoul. But okay, so Jessica, we've got a question for you there. From now, where are we? Albert Antonio. I'm curious, how was the transition from a one-person creator to having a production team that produces a lot of content every week?
Well, at the beginning, I worked, of course, by myself. I researched the story and wrote like 3 scripts alone per week. But now, well, I wanted to, develop my channel and get bigger. So I'm working with 17 part-time writers only for the one single series, like Saturday Mystery series. And some of them, they are really good at, translating different languages. So that way they can find new foreign stories, which was never introduced in Korea. And also some writers, they are kind of like a master in criminal psychology. So they can provide extended insight on the script of, it's about the crime stories. So with that effort, my channel is well known for unlimited mystery crime stories.
Okay, so this is a question. Let's hit this. Let's hit Sean with this one. From now, if I pronounce your name wrong, I do apologize. Is it Holia? Is it possible that foreign artists, especially Japan or China, can buzz in Korea? How can Korean fans recognize foreign artists? And that's, I think, Halia or Holia. Sean.
Let's see, foreign artists. I think that I don't know if I'm the best to to answer this. I haven't done management and that type of thing, but I feel like there are definitely ways. I wouldn't say it's impossible. I think that social media will be key, obviously, in doing that, and possibly collabing. I would say if you could contact Korean artists that you're possibly fans of, and there's a way to collaborate together. I would think that might be a good way to come in, and because there will always be somewhat of a language barrier, but again, that doesn't mean that it's impossible. It's just about, I really like what was said before, that Jessica said about being authentic. I think that really resonated with me. I think as long as there's an authentic experience, that really, it really reigns true. I think no matter the format or the platform, I believe that everyone has a voice inside of them. There's an artist in all of us, and that if we just listen hard enough, the inspiration will come. And as long as you hold on to that and you cultivate that, you will find an audience eventually. And that might be in Korea, it might be other places in the world. I think what's really amazing about just being a content creator in general is that we don't have to necessarily think about what country is this for. I think it's more about how is this compelling for an audience. And then now there's so many distribution platforms, whether it's the major OTTs or whether it's YouTube or whether it's social media platforms, where you can find your own audience, you can create your own community, and that's a really beautiful thing, I think, right now. And so it's hard to comment unless I kind of understand exactly who it is, what this artist is doing, what kind of art they're putting out. But I would say try to find someone who inspires you in Korea, possibly, and collaborate together. DM them or
Or
contact their management.
email Sean at.
Oh, are you, Jasper, okay, I checked with you first if it was okay to say my email address. Now,
Yeah, no,
now I'm
I
wondering.
mean it. I'm being serious. I'm being serious. So look, we're running. We're going to run out of time soon, unfortunately. But let's finish. I'm going to ask all three of you one question to the three of you, and we'll start with Eugene. What is the most exciting thing about Korea right now? Anything, media, culture, whatever. What's exciting in Korea right now?
That's a very difficult question. What I personally find exciting about Korea is the fact that there seems to be an app for everything. There's actually maybe 3 or 4 apps for everything. There's so many conglomerates. I mean, like in Korea, Samsung makes cars, right? Like there's so many of these big, huge conglomerates. There's these telecom companies, and now there's all these new internet startups, and they're all competing like crazy. Like I think one thing about Korea that people need to know is it's probably the most competitive place in the planet, which is evidenced by the schools and the tutoring and whatever culture. But there is, I guess, a bright side to that, and that's the fact that with all this competition, you're going to get a lot of high quality products, services. You're going to get a lot of high quality content, right? So yeah, it's there's just so much going on. There's so many big, massive companies with tons and tons of money that are actively doing everything. It seems like that constantly there's new things popping up. There's new trends popping up, and that's really exciting to see.
Cool. So Jessica, same question. What's really exciting about Korea right now?
I have been newly recognized. How my subscribers consume my videos has been changed. I was shocked because people are, they used to just shop around and to find a short clip, interesting, fun videos, but they would rather spend longer time in my video, and they would actually want to play longer length video, as in just like a background sound, especially while they're working, studying, or even sleeping. That's something really I never know. So I started to upload like 1 hour storytelling videos with like a more calm voice and peaceful music, and people loved it. I think it's a new trend in Korea. People consume videos for the background sound in their daily life, and I try to keep up with that. That's what makes me exciting.
So Jessica, I should have asked earlier. You upload so many videos every week. Have you actually uploaded a video whilst we've been recording this interview? Don't worry, that's a joke. It's a joke. You don't have to. Unless the answer is yes, and then I want to see it. Okay, so the question finally to you, Sean. What is? I mean, we talked about third culture content and what's coming up next and stuff, but what's really exciting for you for Korea right now?
I think it's just the obvious answer, which is Korea's having a real moment right now in history. I mean, Korean films are winning Oscars. That already is, it's amazing. K-pop artists are topping the Billboard 100 charts in the globally. There's something that I think is just really opening up, where Korea, being Asian, is cooler than ever before, and just it's a really fun, dynamic place. Korea, I think, has always been really adaptable and has always caught on trends. Like Eugene was saying, there's new trends all the time. But whatever's been going on is really resonating globally right now, and it's an amazing place to be a content creator now, because a lot more people want to come here and tell stories. And so I think there's an ocean of stories that have not been told that are now going to be able to be told because of the opportunities that are coming into Korea and also being exported out of Korea. So that's what's most exciting for me.
What a wonderful way to end this session. It's been an absolutely fascinating hour. I'm going to get in trouble because it was supposed to be 40 minutes, but the information and the insight and the knowledge and the passion that is coming out of all three of you has been absolutely wonderful to listen to. And I have been writing notes and even highlighting notes as we've gone along. Just to summarize, I mean, we talked about the platforms being local and international. We've talked about genres, beauty, gaming, music, but also fascinating that education is such a high-ranking genre as well. And anyone who's read the Tiger Mum book might understand why education is such and I believe she was Korean, so I'm allowed to say that. E-commerce is really, home shopping is huge. We talked about how fast-paced it was there, how local language, whilst people do speak English, it's much better to talk to them in local language. We talked about being there. If you want to make it there, you need to be there. We talked about wholesome sexy. What a wonderful, I have to bring this phrase into a panel at some stage. We also mentioned that in K-drama, there's no sleeping with each other in the first episode, so go straight to the second episode. We talked about there being an app for everything. We talked about supportive government. We talked about pitching Sean at, which I think is a wonderful message. But Korea is what should be the most important thing? Korea's having a moment is gorgeous line, along with this whole thing about being genuine, be authentic, and your fans come first. So with that, I've had a great hour. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to Eugene. Thank you to Jessica, and thank you to Sean.